Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good afternoon and welcome to Fade to Black Cinema. I'm Michael, your Bougie Black Brother, and I'm here with my co-host, Alicia.
Hello.
And we just finished seeing John Wick 3. Keanu Reeves, once again, ladies and gentlemen. One of our favorite actors, and another great performance from him, based on the trilogy. Now it's a trilogy, because we seen him in the trilogy of The Matrix, but this one is a lot more intense.
The movie gets better and better.
And better. So, we went to see it. And if you didn't know, because we went back and saw the first two, even though we didn't need to, but it was just exciting to see again. So we started off with John Wick losing his wife, and then somebody, and he's in some kind of organization, but you didn't know. And then you turn around, and then some Russians come after him, right?
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, so the crazy Russian young kid wanted his car.
Spoiled brat
Russian, and then the Russian gangster is his father, and John Wick actually used to work for him. So then you find out he is a assassin. Right now, from the first one, you thought he just worked for the Russians.
Right.
That's what you thought. But as the movies start progressing, you find that he's an assassin for the high table.
Yeah, high table. First you thought it was the syndicate, but it really is the high table.
Yeah, it's the high table. So, you got your local syndicates and mobs, but the high table is an international organization. And then it grows, because that turns you into chapter 3. But chapter 2 went into, that's when you find out that it was really international, because he tried to get out of it as an assassin because he got married and he was in love with someone. But the only way he was getting out was he had to do some elaborate job.
Well, remember, he had made promises or that he did something for, or they made he owed people something.
Yeah, so he had to do an elaborate job, but in order for him to do that, he had a blood oath to people, and they have this little medallion thing that you put your finger in and your blood is there, and then until the blood oath is returned, then you don't owe that person. So he happened to have owed a person in the second series.
But remember, he was out. Remember when he did the first one, he said, okay, I'm not doing this no more. Right? And then he killed the other guy's brother from the first series.
So he killed the son, who killed his dog, and
the father. Then the brother in the second series.
No, he didn't kill the brother in the second series.
Oh, he didn't kill the guy's brother?
No, he didn't. He just showed up and said peace. And the guy said peace. And remember, and then they drunk the vodka. That was his brother.
Okay.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
He walked in there.
Okay.
So that was it. But the continued series was an Italian guy that was part of the 12 high table. What's those people? They have a name for them, but they all part of that high table. Alicia said syndicate. I think that's an easier way to kind of listen to it. But he did something with that. So if you didn't see it, then I'm sorry. I'm going to spoil it all for you. So he kills that guy within the hotel called the Continental, which is sacred ground for all assassins. So when you go in there, no business is to be conducted in the Continental. And they got Continentals all throughout the world.
Right, exactly. I was getting ready to say that. Yeah. And you cannot kill nobody.
You cannot kill. You cannot do official business. And usually the official business is really killing somebody. So basically when they say you can't do business, it's you can't kill anyone. So at the end of it, of part 2, he killed the Santani. And he was the brother of one of the high table women, and his blood oath was to kill her. And then once he killed her, he became the head of that portion of the high table syndicate. And after that, then he put out a $7 million contract.
That was before.
no, after he killed her, he put a $7 million contract on Wick, because he said he had to do that, because if he didn't, then it would look like that he did pay John Wick to do that, and he had to show everyone that I have to do something, but the agreement wasn't that. So he came after him because he knew also that everyone was saying that he was going to take over. No, his sister told him, right? His sister told John Wick that he wants me dead, but this is what you're going to do. He's going to take over New York, whether you think so or not, and you giving him the right to do that. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of like, what should I do? But when he found out that Santoni actually sent assassins to come after him, he was like, okay, so I'll come after you. So really cool. So it's very, very unique type of series that what we read about, that it didn't supposed to continue. It was really a single movie that people just thought would be, okay, this is exciting, wow, and move on. Mm-hmm. But it did so well that they did a second one. And that did so well. And that did so well. They was like, oh my God, let's do the third one.
And it did so well.
Yeah.
Now they're doing a fourth one.
So, and the thing is, and what Alicia and I was noticing on this was, there's a progression within each movie, because the first one gave you who he was and what he was capable of doing,
kind of explaining what he really was.
Right, but the first one was just him.
Yeah, it was.
You didn't really know who he worked with.
Right,
You kind of did, but you didn't.
But they kind of did. They did good explaining it.
Yeah, so
in the first one,
you wasn't lost like he wasn't nobody.
Right.
You knew he was somebody.
Right, and you knew about the way they said he killed John Wick dog, and the father's like, John Wick. It was just that one name, mm-hmm. and it just like everybody just started panicking once they heard the name.
Whoa, because he retired. He stopped doing what he needed to do.
Right.
And then the ongoing story is he killed a person with a pencil. And it was like, yeah, I know. He said, no, a pencil. So, so it went to that. But the second one showed that there was a whole set of assassins all around the world, broken up into different things. And then what we found interesting too was the Lawrence Fishburne portion, that he wasn't part of the high table.
No, he wasn't.
Or he wasn't under the table.
He wasn't under the table. He wasn't even part of the syndicate at all.
He was outside of that, but
doing his own thing
alongside of the under table people.
Right.
But he wasn't part of the high table people.
Right.
So he established himself in that as well. Mm-hmm. So when they was coming after John Wick, he helped John Wick and gave him 7 bullets.
Right.
There's a reason for that. And he gave him 7 bullets. But at the end of John Wick 2, Winston, which is cool, crazy ass Ian McShane, the dude he's just an amazing actor too. I love him on the other one, American Gods.
American Gods,
he's
right.
on there as well. And then he was on the one on the HBO series, the Western on that. But anyway, he's just really great on here too, named Winston. So he let him go, but he gave him an hour.
Right, he gave him an hour.
He got an hour, and then it's $14 million
on his head. A bounty. Yeah, it was a bounty.
A bounty on his head. $14 million, and he's excommunicado.
Yeah,
that means he gets no privileges on anywhere around the world of being part of this syndicate of the high table,
right,
that's involved in,
right,
no doctors, no guns, no anything. So at the end of that, he was on the run,
right,
which walks us into chapter 3.
Okay.
So what I found interesting in this is they didn't try to recap anything. It was almost like you shut that movie off and you shut this movie on. Yeah,
it's like how it ended. How it ended in the second, it kind of transitioned into the third.
It didn't transition. It just started.
Yeah, it just started
because he was running.
Yep, he was running.
And then the beginning of this, he started running again.
Yeah, yep, he sure
and
did.
it was a amazing transition because it didn't slow down for anything.
Yeah.
And the first part of this, and I'm going to tell you throughout this movie, which made me kind of like, and Alicia can tell you, I was just yelling out loud with the shit that was going on with this.
You and that other guy.
It was phenomenal fight scenes in this, and it was like dramatic. And each one, it was just harsh and dramatic. And he had a fight scene with knives that they was throwing them like bullets. They was throwing them so quickly, it was like bullets. And he was fighting with an Asian group because they saw him as he was running. Once 6 o'clock hit, it was like it was on.
Oh no!
So everybody was.
Remember, there was the one guy saying, "I ain't waiting till 6 o'clock. I'm gonna get you now."
Yeah, I'm gonna get you now.
And he beat him. He took that book. He took the book. I was like,
because he went to the library.
Yes,
and we didn't even know why he went to the library, but he
found
had
out.
some stuff hidden in the library. And it was interesting because they had another medallion there that him and Santoni had, but I didn't pick it up right away until later on. Then he had it's not a necklace. It's I forgot what you call it.
It's a
Catholic rosary.
The rosary.
So he had a Catholic rosary with him, and he had that, and there was something else in there too that he took out.
A rosary, some coins.
Yeah, and some coins because he's always got to have those gold coins because usually that's what
that's the only thing that's the only thing they switch.
Yeah, they take that and then
they don't do no cash, no nickels and dimes.
It's a straight gold coin for that ass. And that guy, it was like this dude was huge. He was like 7 feet. Whatever, and this guy was like, it won't matter if it's 6 or not, because he jumped in a cab after that, and he went to the library in order to get that information and everything.
Right. Well,
that was
right because book.
Before that, no, remember he fought the guys, and then right before he had like 5 minutes. But he went to the doctor.
Right, he had the doctor, yep.
So the doctor said, look, I can't help you. He said, I got 5 minutes. And he had to stitch him up because the big dude actually stabbed him
on the neck,
in the shoulder.
In the shoulder.
And he was able to go from that. But it was just excitement next to the fight scene, and it kept going and going and going. And then you find out a little bit of how he was raised, where he was raised at, and who was part of that that organization that raised these children in a certain way. And they were Russian. So that portion, it showed you that. But then all of a sudden he said he wanted passage to Casablanca. Remember that?
Right.
And so we was like, that's weird. What's that all about? So when he gets there and there's people looking for him because they know there's an international bounty against him. And the bounty went up because he killed so many people in New York before he left that it went up to 15 million.
Yep, it
but
did.
When he got to Casablanca, then it became, he was going to another one of the Continentals. So the new Continental was in Casablanca. Right. So when he walks in there, that's when we introduced to Holly Berry, yes, which Sophie. Was the curator. Yes, she's the curator of that hotel. Mm-hmm. So she ran that. What made it interesting was 2 dogs. And you kind of look at them dogs. She's like, oh, she got some dogs. Okay. All right.
Well, the way the dogs came out there.
Yeah, they came out like, and they just sat there. And she shot him. And he was like, what are you doing? And, it was kind of cool. But she had a conversation, and you find that they had a relationship. And on top of the relationship, he pulled out the marker. Mm-hmm. And the marker that she had to actually honor because he did something for her and she owed him.
That's right.
So it proceeded from there. And he said he wanted to go to one of the high table people that was her boss, basically.
Right. So she said, I need to find, what's his name? She said the high table.
Yeah, so
he needed to find a higher table.
So because he needed advice, but he needed to get the high table, the location of the high table from her boss.
Right.
So he goes and shows,
and she didn't want to do it.
She didn't want to do it, but she came in, and it was funny because then she put these jackets on the dogs, because the dogs didn't really do anything. It was just kind of like her protector. So he was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. They're just like regular attack dogs. So that was like interesting. But they show up there, and it's the guy from Game of Thrones.
Right.
I forgot his name on it, but yeah, he was the guy from Game of Thrones. We was kind of like, oh, Alicia said, that's the guy from Game of Thrones.
That's Jeremy Flynn.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. All right. He looks a lot shorter on this movie than Game of Thrones. He looked a lot taller. But anyway, so they talked to him, and he vaguely said, there has to be a sacrifice for all of this, and you bringing this man here. But they never really said anything. He kind of looked over and said, he was saying a lot of vague things. But in the end, he was like, I can't help you. He said, if you want to talk to the high table, you have to go to the farthest point of the desert. And then when you go to the farthest point of the desert, then go a little more. And then when you're ready to die and you fall out, but then get up and go a little step further. Then maybe the high table will come to you.
Right, exactly.
And he said, otherwise, I can't help you. And they was like, all right. He's like, hold up. There must be a sacrifice. And I love your dogs. And she was like, no, you can't have my dog. And Keanu Reeves was like, what are you doing? And he was like, no, you can't have my dog. He was like, okay, but there must be a sacrifice. And he shot the dog. And she was like, ah! And she was like, she looked up at Keanu Reeves, and he looked at her like, don't do it. Don't do it. She said, he shot my dog. And chaos went. And Halle Berry was trained really well because she was phenomenal in that too. She was
off
kicking
the chain. Keanu Reeves wasn't even doing what she would do because she would make him look bad. She was mad, and she was just a mad woman.
and here's where the other thing that I thought was like much phenomenal. On top of that, now you see the dogs. These freaking dogs were attacking people, slinging people around, biting at their necks, biting at their crouches, because they trained them. When I read about that, they trained them to grab at. They said go for the dick, but they trained them and put like a green whatever in between their legs, so the dogs would attack them at their neck, their arms, and between their legs. And these dogs are so athletic. They were jumping all over the place. They were slinging people back and forth. and all she call their name and like Fido, and they just come out of nowhere. Yeah,
she was saying
and she was just whatever their names were. They just was coming out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh my God, look at these fucking dogs!"
Yeah, she was saying some kind of demand. That's what it was. It was some kind of demand.
No, she called their name, and they come to her. And then they already know there's somebody attacking her. And there's a scene, I gotta say it. There's a scene that this guy was sitting on top of a bridge. And she was trying to hide from the guy. And she called the dog. And she stood there. And the dog climbed her back, climbed the side of the wall, and got the guy. I was like, this fucking dog climbed the wall, jumping from her back. I was like, yo, these dogs are amazing. So you know you're going to see them again. Because they put so much training in these dogs just for this series, you know it's going to come back. But these dogs is amazing. There's a special breed. It's a Belgian Mulattoes or something like that. But these dogs was amazing. But from that point, and that whole scene was just, Halle Berry was just amazing on that too. They didn't even show a lot of John Wick in there. They showed a lot of her and the dog.
Yeah.
You know, John Wick was there, and, you know, he just does his thing. But the highlight was Halle Berry and the dog.
That whole
sequence right there.
Yeah, that whole fighting scene, that was Halle Berry right there.
And it was worth it. Yeah. It's worth it to say, do you want to see her on her own with her dogs?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. You didn't know what happened after the fact, because she did shot her boss. Did she become a curator again?
But she didn't kill him though.
No, she didn't kill him.
It's just the dogs ripped the shit out of his dick, and she shot him in the arm at first, and then the dog attacked him.
Yeah,
and then they went from that. But then Keanu Reeves leaves, and she takes him to the desert, and she drinks half the water, and then spits water back in there and said, "You're on your own, dude. We're even. Get the hell up out of here." And then he falls out, and the high table is Arabian guy or somebody from that.
Don't forget the adjudicator.
So we just following that path. Let's go down the other path once we finish him, because he's on his way back now. You know what I mean?
Well, the adjudicator was already.
I know, but that's a different path.
Okay, all right.
Even though I'll go backwards, during that same time, the adjudicator was there. So Alicia going with the adjudicator. But anyway, when he talked to the high table, he said he wanted to get his life back. So he said, why do you want your life back? He said, I want to remember my wife, and I want to make sure she stay in my memory. So he sacrificed his finger and gives the high table his ring. And he said, the only thing I want you to do is to kill Winston. And Winston is Ian McShane. So they said, oh, get you dressed and we can send you back. So while all of this was going on, the high table sent someone called the adjudicator. And you don't know her name or anything, but she's just an adjudicator. She shows up and puts a coin down. It's not even a gold coin. It's like a black, dark, whatever. And she puts the coin down, and it's just, she's like the lawyer representative for the
high table.
For the high table. And she goes first to the Continental. And when she goes to the Continental, she tells Winston, well, we're doing our investigation and you let this guy go. He's like, no, what am I supposed to do? She said, you gave him an hour and you supposed that killed him. You didn't kill him when you had the opportunity. She said, so we agree that.
So take your hotel away from you.
We'll take your hotel and you got 7 days to get your affairs together. Mm-hmm. And she leaves up out of that. And once she leaves up out of that, she goes to Chinatown or some portion in New York, and she gets with another assassin group that knows what
Angelica
the high table
Hudson.
is. Oh, no. Before she gets to Angelica Hudson, she gets to the Iron Chef. This dude, he's called the Iron Chef. If you ever seen that show, he's one of the main guys on there. But he was so cool on here too. I forget his name. Yeah, he's called Echo on here, I believe. But yeah, she gets with him and his whole crew.
No, he's Zero. His name
is Zero. Thank
Mark Dacascos.
Yeah, so if you look at his background, he was the Iron Chef. He's another martial artist, stuntman, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
But he played on the show Iron Chef, and it was kind of cool. But he got his gang, and they became the hand of the adjudicator while she was actually going around handling her business. So the first place they went to is to see Angelica Hudson, who gave passage to John Wick to Casablanca. And they just go there and they start killing everybody. It's a whole bunch of ninjas. So they appear like ninjas all over the place. And so they said there has to be penance for anyone helping John Wick. So they just stab her hands and stuff. And they told her, you have nothing. You will never, whatever. So she had some conversation. Anyway, after her, then she went to Lawrence Fishburne, which is, what do they call him, man? Lawrence Fishburne had a name on there too.
Bowery King. He's with the Bowery King.
So he's down in the Bowery. And he was kind of, you can't do nothing to me. I'm the Bowery King and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, we the high table. And you gave him 7 bullets. And you helped this man get away. You gave him 7 bullets. And we can reach you, whether you think so or not. Because they came there and Zero came with his crew and he was just massacring all his group. And then he turned around and she said, well, your punishment is 7 cuts. And Zero takes out his samurai blade and 7 cuts on his ass. And they walk away. And they say, well, that's your punishment. But don't fuck with the high table. And they went on. But from that point, then it was the adjudicator was waiting to see what happens with John Wick. And I think that's when he came back, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of lost in between.
Because he had to kill Winston.
Yeah, so he had to kill Winston. So, he came back. He found his way back to the Continental. And did he find him to the Continental yet?
What's that?
Did he find his way back to the Continental? Or did he stop anywhere else? I don't think
remember,
he stopped
they were trying to get him. The Asian guy was trying to get him when he came into New York.
Oh, yeah. So
he never got got there.
God. So there's the sequences we didn't talk about. He jumps on a horse. No, before he jumps on the horse. Because if you see the previews, he's riding a horse. And so you think he's just running from them with a horse. But he goes into a horse stable and he's fighting people and he makes the horses kick people in the face. I was like, oh my God, he made the horse kick the dude in the, and he kept doing it. It wasn't like it was an accident. He intentionally knew that he can line these guys up and these horses would kick the shit out of them and just knock the hell out of them. But then he rides off, and then from that he gets on a motorcycle and the samurai people come after him and he's fighting them on the bikes with a samurai sword. And I'm like, who thought of these goddamn stunts? And it was like a set of stunts all throughout the movie. And it was no lull period. And if it was a short lull period, it jumped up into something extraordinary. So it was kind of like, yeah, okay, that was okay. And then it lulled and then it jumped right back up again. But anyway, so the adjudicator had 2 busloads of people to come kill John Wick and Winston, as well as the black dude who's called Churin. He was the guy who stands in. His name is Lance Reddick. He's cool. We used to love him on one of the other shows that we was in, beside The Wire. So he started with The Wire, and then he was on this other show. Forgot the name of it, but he was really, really the right hand man of Winston. So once he got in, Wick came in and talked to Winston. He was like, "Are you just gonna not be free anymore? Are you just gonna allow all of this to happen?" So he kind of agreed to say, "No, I won't kill him." And she was like, "All right, I got you." So that's when she called Zero and his crew and a whole busload of people who had armor on, and they loaded up with guns, but they couldn't shoot them because they was walking around with some kind of armor. They had to go back into that private area and get armor piecing.
Safe.
Goddamn,
it was like a
yeah,
safe.
it was a whole vault.
Yeah, it was a vault. It was a vault. Yep.
But then they came back, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And they both came back and said, "Oh, we need something harder." And they just loaded up with armor piercing weapons and all. And then that whole sequence go from that. And then once they got back from that, that's when I think it was that part when he went to fight Zero. But before he fought Zero, he had the other couple of guys that he had to fight, and they was like, "It's an honor to fight John Wick. It's an honor." And they was in a whole glass area, and they had all types of different statues of skulls and every stuff in there. But he fought them within there, and then he finally got to fight Zero. So that was really interesting. But I went through so much because this movie was just so exciting, and it kept you watching all the way through. There's not too many movies that keep you going throughout the movie, and you have to say, if I get up, I'm gonna miss something, because they fashioned this movie to have a sequence of fight scenes throughout this movie. Mm-hmm. And it was just knife scenes, sword scenes, gun scenes, fight scenes, and it was multiple scenes of that, depending on where John Wick was or who was fighting John Wick. And it was just, I just loved it, put it that way. But what was your thoughts?
Well, you said it all. I can't say no more.
You got your own opinion,
No, I loved it. I liked, like I said, the Halle Berry scene was awesome. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's not going to be in number 4, because she broke some rules. So, and the thing is if she's going to be out there with John Wick trying to defend herself and clear her name.
Yeah, and John Wick allegedly was dead, because people turned on him, and now he's in the hands of Winston. I mean, not Winston. He's in the hand of
the Bowery King.
Yeah, him and Lawrence Fishburne
are back together
again.
Oh,
so,
man.
As they did that, they're already filming or writing the story for John Wick 4.
Mm-hmm. They said estimate 2021.
Yeah, 2021. because if you're in the middle of 19, they can't finish in 20. So they'll probably finish that and then release early.
Well,
21.
they got to write it and put it all together.
I think the way they wrote this one, they already have the basic storyline. It's just that what are they going to put in it? Because I was telling Alicia, this reminds me of the Fast and the Furious. It's because with the Fast and the Furious, you always wanted to see what cars that they have for the next one.
Right.
Ooh, what cars will they be driving in? Ooh, what are the stunts for the cars on this one? This is all about what type of stunts would they, not even really stunts, the shooting and the fighting sequence. Well, what is a different way?
But remember, they use, motorcycle. They did the motorcycle scene. They did the
horse.
The horse.
They did the dogs.
Yeah, the dogs. If they would they wasn't like fancy, extravagant.
No, it's different.
Yeah.
And that's what made you watch it more, because stuff like that. Then the knife fight scene when they was in the library or whatever it was, they had an archive place that had old weapons and stuff inside of there, and it had like glass cases of swords and knives, and they were breaking that, and they was fighting with those, and it was so different because it depends on what knife they pulled out of what they could or couldn't do with that. They had axes and all of that, and it was. So you can say the stunts. So speaking of stunts, the director is a stuntman that used to do the stunts for Keanu Reeves. He used to do the stunts for Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. And he did some stunts. He has a stunt company. So a lot of people that works for him was actually in here. And if you remember, when I looked at this, he was one of the Russian guys that was on John Wick 1, when they was fighting in the nightclub. He was the guy who threw John Wick over the balcony.
Okay.
That's the stunt guy.
Okay.
Because he's an actor as well. He was an actor, stunt man, but that was him. And I was like, wow, that dude is good. But so when you see these stunts, these guys know how to show a stunt. So with them creatively, how can we do something that looks realistic, or how can we do something that really won't hurt you but good enough for people to be like, wow? Because that's why this was a big wow factor on this one. But yeah, so to your point, stunts, action, fight scenes, whatever, it's a combination of those things that they said, how can we better ourselves, just like the Fast and Furious series that says, stunts and cars. Now it's fighting and stunts and fighting, or weapons. And so the next thing could be different kinds of weapons that they doing, or whatever. So yes, that's how I see it in our thing. So if you rank this, what would you rank it?
Oh, I'm going to have to do the max.
Really?
Yeah, this was definitely a 10.
Wow. So she goes with a 10. I go with a 9.25. This is the one that I will continue to look at and always look at. And it's funny because I did like the 1 and the 2. Those were good. They were very good. No matter what, if that comes on, I'll check it out. But this one was just so explosive. It has so much energy to this one that when you see it, takes you to another level, because it's so high octane. It's like full of energy and everything, more than the other two. But you got to understand, the other two was leading you up to, all you need to know is he's trying to get away. How's he going to get away? And he's going to have to fight everyone. Because at the end of the other movie, he said, let them know, anyone that comes after me, I will kill them.
The thing is about the John Wick series is that we were watching. We seen the 3 last night. Came home and this morning and watched. We was home and then watched the 1 and 2 this morning. So you don't get tired of seeing it. It's one of those things that, okay, I want to see it again because it was just that good. And there's like little things you may miss, but still you want to see it again because the stunt, the storyline is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. That's why I gave it a 10, because you don't get tired of seeing it.
Nope, not at all.
You just don't. This is one of these series that, okay, number 4 need to hurry up and come. That's how good it is, because you can't wait. And there's one, watching it from beginning to end, there was always action.
Yep.
There was no little gap where you said, okay, they talk too motherfucking much. That didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
That did not happen. Every little thing happened. From him walking in the sand and drinking that water that Holly Berry done spit in it, and them picking him up, and he had to talk to the high table in charge, chopping off his finger, taking the ring off. I mean, everything had something. It was some action, which is something.
So it's just a lot of action, and it reminds me of when we saw a lot of the Marvel movies that you couldn't wait to see the next one because you knew what was coming. You had an expectation, and you was kind of like, damn. After Captain America. Can't wait to see the Civil War. After the Civil War, at Age of Ultron or whatever, because you knew something big was coming right after that. And then the Infinity Wars and blah, blah, blah. You look forward to this. But with this, as they were trying to create characters, they already created the characters in 1 and 2. So you didn't have to worry about, character development other than like the Holly Berry that came in. But she was part of the Assassins, so you accepted that and kept going. Now, if you want to know a little more, that can bring her back. And then Zero was on there, and that dude was amazing as well. And he was even funny because he was kind of like, man, you are so amazing, Mr. John Wick. You're amazing.
I'm a big fan of yours.
I'm a big fan of yours.
We're the same.
So
say, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
We're the
same.
No, we're not
the same. So it was funny in those ways, but it wasn't really, the quirky comedy that they try to put into some movies so you can be like, oh, that was funny. It wasn't that, because this whole series wasn't like that, and it was just really, really cool. But yeah, I rated a 9.25, and I'll push it to anybody to show me anything more exciting than this, because this was really exciting. I mean, just very exciting. This is the edge of your seat type exciting, because the sequences go so quickly that, like Alicia said, you miss some things, or you saw it so quickly, it moved on to something else. So it didn't even register in your mind what just happened. It just was so dramatic at a point that it moved on, and you couldn't catch everything. So when you see it again, you'll be like, oh my God, did you see that? And then you go from that. But highly enjoyable. Every time we talk about John Wick, we get excited. So if you see our John Wick 2, we was probably just as excited as that. But a 10 and a 9.25, pretty close anyway. We average about a 9.5, 9.75. So right in between. But other than that, anything else, babe?
No, that's it.
So John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. That's the name. Go see it. It's killing the box office right now. Not as high as last year like they want, but made so much money, they green light number 4. And there's not a lot of series that go into 4. They go to 3 and they either stop, or there's a written series like a Star Wars or Harry Potter, or just like I said, the Fast and the Furious, and they're coming out with a spin-off. So we'll be seeing that one as well. But anyway, thank you very much. Fade to Black Cinema every Wednesday. You get to see us or hear us, and we'll have your movie reviews and look for our Game of Thrones end of series. Definitely got to talk about that as well. Well, thank you very much, and see you next week on Fade to Black Cinema. See ya.
Bye.